Have you ever noticed that when you're watching like one of your favorite influencers or maybe even a movie or a series that you like, that suddenly you start to purchase things that you've seen that influencer use, that from that show that you watch, you suddenly start to desire some of those items that you see in those settings? Well, that is called product placement. And we're going to talk about that. That is one of the forms of advertising, one of the forms of media for advertising. So let's get ready to talk a little bit more about product placement, why it's important, some advantages and disadvantages. Let's go. You're listening to Marketing Adventure, the hub for business, fashion, marketing, and other CTE educators who integrate marketing into the learning experience. I'm your host, Jackie Walker. Each week, I'll cover marketing education concepts, strategies, tips, trends, frameworks, and other information to equip you to connect your classroom to digital natives while cultivating an engaged learning environment. So come on into the room where your favorite beverage, snacks, and even your cell phone are all welcome. Okay, so you may be asking, what exactly is product placement? You mentioned a show, you mentioned an influencer, but how is product placement playing a part in this? Well, product placement is the technique by which a product or brand is intentionally featured in a setting of a show, of a movie, or now with influencers. And they don't necessarily talk about the product specifically, but you may see on the table in a movie a Coke bottle sitting on the table, and they're having dinner, or it could be a friend's gathering or what have you, and they're drinking the Coke. They never mention the Coke. They never focus on the Coke. It's all about what's happening in that scene. But because they are drinking Coke, you take notice. And what comes to mind when you and your friends gather? You think, oh, I want the same setting that I saw in that movie, so I'm going to go buy some Coke. All right. Or an influencer, for instance. I was watching an influencer just last night. I came up on my For You page and I started watching and just scrolling through their reels. And it was a young lady with her boyfriend. And she said, my boyfriend and I are going to play a game tonight. We're just going to sit around the house and hang out and play a game. But let me make a quick drink while we get ready. And so she made a beverage. She never mentioned the beverage's name, an alcoholic beverage. She never really did anything to say, hey, this is what we're drinking. She simply made the camera panned in on her making the drink, and then it went away from that and it went to other things that they were doing throughout that night or preparing to do throughout that night. So really, it was really engaging in her lifestyle, but it was showing what she uses as a part of her lifestyle. And so it showed the brand name of the drink and it showed her making a drink, which made it look really appealing. And then it connected it to the fun and the lifestyle that she was having. So it wasn't an ad per se, but it was the placement of the product within the scene of what she was doing for entertainment with her boyfriend that night. So that's product placement. Product placement doesn't come off as a direct ad that says, here's the product, these are the features, here are the benefits, buy it, or anything like that. It really simply places the product in a setting that is desirable by the viewers, and the viewers take notice. It's like subliminal messaging. And the viewers begin to take notice of the product in that setting and they identify with it, especially if it's something that they like to do or it reminds them of themselves or what have you. So that is product placement. Now, some of the characteristics of product placement, or just some of the things about it, is that it really allows you to reach a larger audience. Um, so if you're thinking about, doing an ad for a specific audience, then you're thinking about that particular niche. But with product placement, you may reach audiences that you had not intended to reach because you're not necessarily targeting a specific audience. You are putting your product in a setting in which a broader group of people can see that product, because there's going to be various markets of people at a movie. There's going to be various markets of people watching a series on TV or something. And then with a particular influencer, that may be more niche because that influencer is attracting certain types of people, but you have the potential, because the person that I watched on the reels last night, I am not her target market. She popped up on my For You page, maybe because of something else that I had clicked on previously. So the picture captured my attention. I wanted to see more. And so I started looking at her reels, and I started looking at more of her reels. And then it came across that particular reel. I'm not her target market. So it gave an opportunity for her to reach an audience that's outside of her target market. And I got to see the drink. It looked really interesting. I may even try it. So it helps you reach a larger market. Now, as I mentioned before, it's not something that's specifically targeted in the storyline of either the movie, the TV show, or even an influencer's post, but it is within, in the background or the forefront at some point in time, but it is noticeable. It's just that it's not the focus of the storyline. Now, also, it helps the audience to connect with a brand. So maybe, I'm not that much of an alcoholic beverage drinker, but if I do decide to have that particular drink that the young lady was making, then that particular brand is now in my mind as, oh, I need to go pick up XYZ to make this particular drink. So now it gives the audience something to think about, or it gives them an actual name to connect to a particular brand or a particular thing that they want to do, or what have you. Now, one of the drawbacks to product placement is that a viewer could think that the person who is like an influencer who is using that product or putting it in their post could be dishonest, because maybe they don't really use that product. They're just doing it for the money, to get paid for the ad that they're doing in their post. So it could be misleading, and especially actors in movies and sitcoms may not even drink like the Coke that is on the table at the party or within the scene that they're doing. But it could be misleading because they're a part of that scene with that product, but in real life, maybe they're vegans and they're holistic with their diet and what they intake, and they don't do sodas or alcohol. They just, do water and fresh juices and all of that. So it could be misleading because that person doesn't really use that product. Now, the marketing industry is actually using product placement more and more these days. It is said to be increasing by double digits, percentage wise. Last year alone, $33 billion was spent on product placement in marketing. That's a lot of money, but it goes to show that it's very useful in sending that subliminal message or that subtle message to the viewers, because sales are picking up based upon revenue, purchases that are being made, because people have seen a product or a brand within some type of post or movie or sitcom or whatever it is that they're watching. Now, outside of the examples that I used as far as what product placement is, I am going to share with you a few of the most popular product placements related to movies and other scenes. So in Sex and the City, Carrie Bradshaw was obsessed with Manolos. So that's product placement because she talked about the brand, she wore the brand, she had an obsession for the brand. So it wasn't like she was advertising the brand. She was talking about it as a part of the whole storyline, but it is associated with her and the movie. Or even the series, the TV series show. So that sends this message that to be like her, to be a part of that lifestyle, then Manalo is the shoe to have, right? Okay, so that's Sex in the City. Another example would be the reality TV show Big Brother and their partnership with IKEA. So, as a part of when the contestants first entered into the um, reality show's house, they had to assemble furniture. And that furniture was IKEA furniture. So now they didn't blatantly be like, oh, buy IKEA. This product has these features, these benefits. But it was a part of the show. It was made into a scene in the show where they were assembling the furniture that they would use as a part of the household. So that's another example of product placement. Now, if you want to see more examples, you can go to Breezy.io. That's BREEZY.io. And I believe that list has, it's like a list of 18 different product placements that are best examples of product placement. Now let's get into, we've talked about the advantages of product placement, what it is, examples of it and everything. So let's get into like, how do you go about getting product placement for your brand or your products? Now, I said that $33 billion were spent on product placement. But of course, that's big companies, big industries. So you as a small business owner, what about the small business owner? How can they get their products placed where others can see it? Well, I have a few ideas that I like to share with you. This is going to be coming from ASEAN Opportunity Fund that listed a few ideas on how you can get product placement done very inexpensively or even maybe for free. All right, so one of the very first ideas to as far as getting product placement is social media. We talked about that with influencers. So if you reach out to influencers that you feel like your target market would identify with, or that they have a market that fits your target market, then reach out to influencers and pitch your product to them and see if they would even put it in the background of when they're making posts or talking or doing a live or what have you. But that's one of the way is just to maximize social media, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, whichever platform that you feel would be best for your product or your brand, and find someone that fits that ideal person that has the target market that you feel fits your brand. Another way you can get your brand out there for opportunities for product placement is to do cold calls. Call people in the industry, see if they can connect you or if you can get them to work with you on product placement. Not a very popular choice, but it is a choice nonetheless, and you never know who you may speak to or who can connect you to the right person. So cold calling, it's one of the oldest ways in sales to increase and maximize your sales and your revenue with your brand. Another way is an old trusty press kit. This is one of the ways that you can put information together. In your press kit, you have all sorts of things. You have things about you, things about your product, your brand. You have pictures, you have reviews, you have write-ups, you have all these different things that you put into a press kit and you send it out to the media. And Maybe they'll use it as in a storyline that they're doing or whatever it is. And that is free. That's publicity. So a press kit is a good way of getting your product out there and having it placed in the right setting. Now, there are several others, but the last one I'm going to mention is selling your story. You have to sell your story. A business, a brand has to sell their story. And they can do that by constantly being present on social media, doing lives, having stories, getting people to connect to the brand. That is one of the best ways that you can get product placement, is building a platform. And then people will come to you and they will want to use your product, have it as a part of their story lines, as a part of their post, or to use it in whatever settings that they are creating because of the platform that you've built by telling your story, by connecting to people, talking about community service that you're doing, talking about partnerships that you've built, various things that would allow people to connect to you, to identify with you. And then that will take your brand to the next level, and it'll allow others to use your brand as a part of what they're doing. So storytelling is a really great way to get product placement for your brand. Now, just to review product placement again, product placement is when your product or your brand is a part of a storyline, but it is not the featured item within the storyline. So it becomes a part of the story. It's there. People see it. It's visible, but it's not being talked about. It just kind of blends in with the story, but it allows it to be seen. And the advantages of that is expanding your audience. It is getting your brand name out there, and it is increasing the exposure. And like I mentioned before, one of the downsides is that people can feel that you're not being real, or that maybe if you're an influencer, you're being dishonest because you're just trying to get paid, or that the characters in the movie and story don't really like the product. It's just there as a part of, the whole storyline. And then, of course, we talked about how this is increasing in the industry as far as money being spent on marketing, and how it is increasing revenue by 2 digits, not just one single digit, but double digits. And also we gave some examples of what product placement is. Again, check out Breezy.io to see a list of some really big, some of the best product placement that's been done in the industry. Then we talked about some ways in which you could actually do product placement for a relatively low cost and are free through social media mostly, but also by reaching out to people and connecting to people in the industry. I hope that this segment on product placement has been very educational to you. I do thank you for joining me here at Marketing Adventure with Jackie, and I hope that you're going to come back next time, because we're going to be talking about merchandise packaging. All right. Again, have a wonderfully blessed day. Thanks for listening to Marketing Adventure. Remember to subscribe, rate, review, and share this episode with someone you think would benefit from the information shared here today. If you have any questions or want to connect with me, find me on Instagram at Marketing Adventure. All links and resources discussed in this episode can be found in the show notes at marketingadventure.com.